the most famous historical figures you've never heard of. Hey history buffs and curious minds, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of my favorite topics, the historical figures who changed the world but somehow got left out of your textbooks. You know all about Alexander the Great, Cleopatra, and Napoleon. But what about the woman who discovered nuclear fission only to have male colleagues take the Nobel Prize? Or the African emperor who was richer than anyone alive today? Or the man who saved potentially billions of lives but whose name you probably don't recognize? These are the shadows of history, people who altered the course of human events but somehow slipped through the cracks of our collective memory. By the end of today's video, you will have 10 new fascinating historical figures to drop into conversation when you want to sound smarter than your friends. Let's jump into the forgotten faces of history. Forgotten Geniuses 1. Hedy Lamarr, Hollywood star and inventor of Wi-Fi precursor. When you think inventor of wireless technology, you probably picture some bearded guy in a lab coat, right? Well, think again. Hedy Lamarr was one of the most beautiful movie stars of the 1940s, and she invented the technology that would later become the foundation for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. Born in Austria in 1914, Lamarr fled her Nazi-sympathizing husband and made it to Hollywood, where she became a major star. But at night she worked on inventions. During World War II, she developed frequency hopping, a method to prevent enemies from jamming torpedo signals by having radio guidance systems jump between frequencies. The US military initially rejected her patent but secretly adopted it years later. It wasn't until the 1990s that she finally received recognition for her groundbreaking work. So next time you're scrolling through Instagram, thank this glamorous genius for helping make it possible. 2. Lise Meitner, the mother of nuclear fission. In 1938, physicist Lise Meitner made one of the most significant scientific discoveries of the 20th century: nuclear fission, the process behind nuclear power and atomic bombs. But you probably learned it was Otto Hahn who made this discovery, right? Meitner, an Austrian Jewish physicist, had collaborated with Hahn for 30 years in Germany. When the Nazis came to power, she fled to Sweden while Hahn stayed behind, working remotely like a 1,930-second Zoom call but with letters. Meitner explained the puzzling experimental results. Hahn had found uranium atoms splitting when bombarded with neutrons. She named the process nuclear fission and calculated the massive energy release. But when the Nobel Prize was awarded in 1944, only Hahn received it. Meitner was overlooked, becoming what many call the most significant woman scientist ever to be denied a Nobel Prize. Einstein called her our Marie Curie, yet history nearly forgot her. In 1992, element 109 was named Meitnerium in her honor, but that's little consolation for losing her place in history books. 3. Jagadish Chandra Bose, the father of radio science. Years before Marconi was credited with inventing radio, Jagadish Chandra Bose had already demonstrated wireless communication in Calcutta. In 1895, transmitting radio waves that rang a bell remotely and exploded gunpowder from a distance. Born in British-ruled India in 1858, Bose faced intense discrimination. The British administration paid Indian professors just 1/3 the salary of their European counterparts. Rather than commercializing his inventions, Bose made them freely available to everyone. His contributions extended beyond radio. He pioneered the study of plant physiology, inventing a device so sensitive it could record plant growth at a microscopic level, proving that plants respond to stimuli and demonstrating similarities between plant and animal tissues. Despite publishing his radio research in international journals, the Western scientific establishment largely ignored his contributions. Today, IEE, the world's largest technical professional organization, recognizes Bose as the father of radio science, but how many of us learned his name in school? Hidden rulers and leaders. 4. Mansa Musa, the richest person in history. We hear a lot about modern billionaires, but none of them come close to the wealth of Mansa Musa, the 14th century emperor of the Mali Empire. When Musa made his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324, he traveled with a caravan of 60,000 people and 12,000 slaves, each carrying gold bars. 80 camels each carried 300 pounds of gold dust. Musa spent and gave away so much gold in Cairo that he accidentally crashed the gold market, causing a decade of inflation. His wealth primarily came from Mali's abundant gold and salt resources. Under his rule, Timbuktu became a center of education and trade. He built schools, mosques, and libraries, turning the city into one of the world's intellectual capitals. Modern economists estimate his fortune would be worth approximately $400 billion today, making him possibly the richest individual in human history. Yet he's rarely mentioned in Western history classes. 5. Queen Amanirenas, the one-eyed warrior queen who defeated Rome in 24 BC, while Augustus Caesar was building the Roman Empire. A fierce, one-eyed queen in ancient Nubia, modern Sudan, was preparing to give Rome one of its few major defeats. Queen Amanirenas ruled the kingdom of Kush after her husband's death. When Roman forces invaded her territory and enslaved thousands of her people, she personally led her army against them. Contemporary accounts describe her as a formidable warrior who had lost an eye in battle. In a stunning campaign, she defeated the Romans, captured the strategic city of Aswan, and decapitated a statue of Emperor Augustus, burying the bronze head under her victory temple's steps, the ultimate ancient insult. Augustus eventually negotiated peace with her, exempting her kingdom from the taxes other Roman territories paid, a rare concession from Rome. Archaeological evidence confirms her victory, including the excavated bronze head of Augustus found exactly where ancient accounts said it would be. Despite this remarkable achievement against history's most powerful empire, few people know her name. 6. Sejong the Great, the king who invented an alphabet. Imagine a king so dedicated to literacy that he invented an entirely new alphabet to help his people read. That's exactly what King Sejong of Korea did in the 15th century. Before Sejong, Koreans used complex Chinese characters that took years to master, meaning only elite scholars could read and write. Sejong created Hangul, the Korean alphabet, specifically designed to be so easy to learn that, as he famously said, a wise man can learn it before morning is over. A stupid man can learn it in 10 days. This wasn't just about literacy, it was revolutionary. By making reading accessible to common people, Sejong democratized knowledge centuries before other countries. Besides inventing this alphabet, Sejong established a scientific academy, created advanced astronomical instruments, standardized weights and measures, and reformed agriculture and medicine. All this while successfully defending Korea from foreign invaders. While he's revered in Korea, appearing on their 10,001 bill, its incredible achievements remain largely unknown to the rest of the world, despite Hangul being recognized by linguists as one of the most scientific and efficient writing systems ever created. World-changing innovators. 7. Norman Borlaug, the man who saved 1 billion lives. If you were asked to name someone who saved 1 billion human lives, who would you mention? Few people know Norman Borlaug, yet estimates suggest his work saved between 1 and 2 billion people from starvation. In the 1940s and 52nd, many experts predicted mass global starvation due to population growth outpacing food production. Borlaug, an agricultural scientist, developed high-yield, disease-resistant wheat varieties and modern agricultural techniques that dramatically increased crop productivity. His methods, collectively known as the Green Revolution, more than doubled wheat production in Mexico, Pakistan, and India within a few years. When India and Pakistan were on the brink of famine in the 1960s, Borlaug's wheat varieties saved hundreds of millions of lives, despite winning the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970. Borlaug's name remains largely unfamiliar. He worked until his death at 95 in 2009, developing crops that could feed more people on less land. The scientist who arguably saved more human lives than anyone in history deserves more recognition, don't you think? 8. Fatima Al-Fihri, founder of the world's first university. When we think of the world's oldest universities, Oxford or Bologna might come to mind. But centuries earlier, a Muslim woman named Fatima Al-Fihri founded what many historians consider the world's first degree-granting university. Born in Tunisia around 800 CE, Fatima migrated to Fez, Morocco with her family. After inheriting a fortune from her father, she used her wealth to establish the University of Al-Qarawiyyin in 859 CE. What began as a mosque expanded into a comprehensive educational institution offering courses in medicine, mathematics, astronomy, chemistry, history, and more. The university established the concept of academic degrees and attracted scholars from across the Muslim world and Europe. Remarkably, Al-Qarawiyyin University still operates. Today, over 1,160 years later, UNESCO recognizes it as the oldest continuously operating educational institution in the world. Despite founding the institution that pioneered the modern university model, Fatima Al-Fihri rarely appears in Western discussions of education history or women's achievements. 9. Victor Schauberger, the water wizard who predicted environmental crisis 1445-1630. Decades before the modern environmental movement, Austrian naturalist Victor Schauberger warned about ecological destruction and developed revolutionary technologies based on his observations of nature. Born in 1885, Schauberger's career as a forest warden led him to deeply study water movement. He developed the phrase comprehend and copy nature as his guiding principle. By observing trout swimming effortlessly upstream and the spiral patterns of natural water flow, he developed technologies that worked with nature rather than against it. In the 1920s, he designed water flumes that moved logs without friction by creating spiral water flows. His inventions included pollution-free energy generators, agriculture methods that increased soil fertility without chemicals, and water purification systems mimicking nature's processes. Most remarkably, Schauberger accurately predicted climate change, soil degradation, and water pollution decades before these became recognized problems. He warned, "They call me deranged. The hope is that they are right. It is of no greater or lesser import for another fool to wander the earth. But if I am right and science is wrong, then may the Lord God have mercy on mankind." Despite his revolutionary insights, Schauberger remains virtually unknown outside environmental circles. Revolutionary artists and thinkers. 10. Artemisia Gentileschi, the forgotten female master of Baroque art in an era when women were largely excluded from professional art. Artemisia Gentileschi became one of the most accomplished artists of the Italian Baroque period, only to be forgotten for centuries. Born in Rome in 1593, Artemisia learned painting from her father but quickly surpassed his skills. At 17, she was raped by her tutor, and the subsequent public trial where she was tortured with thumbscrews to verify her testimony traumatized her but also influenced her powerful artistic vision. Her paintings often depicted strong, heroic women from biblical and mythological stories. Her masterpiece Judith's Laying Holofernes portrays two women beheading a male oppressor with shocking realism and emotional intensity. Despite achieving success in her lifetime, becoming the first woman admitted to Florence's prestigious art academy and receiving commissions from European royalty, art historians largely erased her from the canon until feminist scholars rediscovered her work in the 1970s. Today, her paintings sell for millions and inspire contemporary artists, but for 300 years, one of the greatest Baroque masters was essentially forgotten simply because she was a woman. 11. Ibn Khaldun, the true father of sociology and economics. Centuries before Adam Smith or Auguste Comte, a 14th century North African scholar named Ibn Khaldun developed sophisticated theories of economics, sociology, and historiography that remarkably presaged modern social sciences. Born in Tunis in 1332, Khaldun's masterpiece, the Macadama, outlined cyclical theories of civilization rise and fall, supply and demand economics, and the division of labor, all centuries before Western scholars discovered these concepts. He was the first to systematically examine how geography, climate, and economics shape societies and history. His theory of asabiya, social cohesion, explained how civilizations rise through group solidarity and decline as rulers become corrupt and isolated. Khaldun pioneered the scientific method in social studies, insisting on verifiable evidence rather than accepted authorities, an approach far ahead of his time. He developed sophisticated theories about taxation, noting that lower tax rates could stimulate economic activity and generate more revenue than high rates. While Western scholars like Arnold Toynbee called him the greatest historian who ever lived, Khaldun's foundational contributions to social sciences remain largely uncredited in Western education. 12. T. Ranji. Sir Peter Buck, doctor, anthropologist, and politician. In the early 20th century, T. Ranji, also known by his English name, Sir Peter Buck, conducted pioneering work preserving Pacific cultures while breaking barriers as one of New Zealand's first physicians. Born in 1877 to a mother and European father, he qualified as a doctor in 1904 and was elected to New Zealand's Parliament while still practicing medicine. During World War I, he served as a medical officer, earning the Distinguished Service Order for gallantry. After the war, he dedicated his life to anthropology, documenting Pacific Island cultures and traditional practices that were rapidly disappearing under colonial influence. His book Vikings of the Sunrise revolutionized understanding of Polynesian migration and culture. Despite racial prejudices of his era, he became the first to receive a knighthood and was appointed director of Hawaii's Bishop Museum. He was also offered a professorship at Yale University. T. Ranji S. work preserved invaluable cultural knowledge that might otherwise have been lost forever. Yet outside New Zealand and anthropology circles, his extraordinary dual career and cultural preservation work remain largely unknown. Unsung heroes. 13. Irene Assendler, the woman who outsmarted the Nazis. During World War II, a Polish social worker named Irene Assendler smuggled approximately 2,500 Jewish children out of the Warsaw Ghetto, saving them from near certain death in Nazi concentration camps. As a healthcare worker, Assendler had access to the ghetto. She and her network used ambulances to smuggle children out in toolboxes, suitcases, and even coffins. She trained her dog to bark when Nazi guards were nearby, covering babies' cries. Most remarkably, Assendler kept meticulous records of each child's original identity, burying these lists in jars under an apple tree. After the war, she tried to reunite children with surviving relatives, though most families had perished. Eventually captured by the Gestapo, Assendler was severely tortured and sentenced to death. Her colleagues bribed a guard to release her, and she continued her resistance work under a false identity. Despite saving more people than Oskar Schindler, Assendler remained largely unknown until 1999 when a group of Kansas high school students created a play about her called Life in a Jar. She was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007 but lost to Al Gore's climate change documentary. 14. Shun Sugihara, the Japanese Schindler. While serving as Japanese consul in Lithuania during World War II, Shun Sugihara made an extraordinary moral choice that saved thousands of lives. As Nazi forces advanced into Lithuania in 1940, desperate Jewish refugees sought visas to escape Europe. Despite explicit orders from his government to deny these requests, Sugihara chose conscience over career. For 29 days straight, often working 18-20 hours daily, he handwrote transit visas that allowed Jews to travel through Japanese territory. Even as he was forced to leave his post, Sugihara continued writing visas from his train window until the moment of departure. He issued between 2,100 and 3,500 visas, which saved an estimated 6,000 people, as many visas covered entire families. Upon returning to Japan, he was forced to resign from diplomatic service in disgrace for disobeying orders. Sugihara lived in relative obscurity, working menial jobs to support his family, until some survivors tracked him down in the 1960s. Israel named him righteous among the nations in 1984, a year before his death. His response to why he did it was simply, "I may have disobeyed my government, but if I hadn't, I would have disobeyed God." So there you have it, 14 extraordinary individuals who shaped our world yet somehow slipped through the cracks of mainstream history, from the Hollywood starlet who pioneered wireless technology to the one-eyed queen who defeated Rome. From the man who saved 1 billion lives to the diplomats who risked everything to save thousands from the Holocaust, these are the forgotten heroes and geniuses whose stories deserve to be told. History isn't just about the names we already know, it's filled with remarkable individuals from every culture, gender, and background who changed everything but never made it into our textbooks. If you enjoyed learning about these unsung historical figures, hit that like button and subscribe for more hidden history. Drop a comment letting me know which of these fascinating people you want to learn more about, and I might do a deep dive video on them in the future. Until next time, remember, the most interesting parts of history are often the ones you haven't heard yet.